And I'm like, wow, I was that person that I used to not be able to stand. So this is behavior. And the last one is consciousness. Now to me, consciousness is a very ethereal concept. But basically to me, consciousness it's this deep, everlasting awareness that's the part of us that's actually aware of our actions. It's aware of a sense of self. It's aware of our emotions. And knows that it's not those things. There's some fundamental aspect of our identity that's beyond time and space, that's eternal, that's hard to measure. I believe all the great masters have spoken of this. I believe the best way I can think of the gift of the awareness would be when Jesus said, before Abraham was, I am. Implying that there was something eternal and more. There is another line in the Gospel of Thomas, one of the Gnostic Gospels, that says, "Blessed is he who knew that he existed before she was born." So there's this sense that there's something much bigger than us, which I believe is fully in line with what these modern-day psychological scientists are telling us, that when we engage spirituality and meaning in our lives, we're going to be happier than not. And I think that the gift of consciousness is the gift to then consciously choose the behaviors we want to take in the world. And so let's say we don't have a healthy sense of self. But yeah, because remember, everything is plastic. By having this deep awareness and by drawing on reserves that are much bigger than my little private self, I'm able to take behaviors and actions, which through those behaviors and actions consciously shift my sense of self. Because oftentimes if perception is who we are, is a function of these actions we take, and our action wags the tail of perception. Action drives the sense of self, so we can change it that way. And then as I have a healthier sense of self, now I have a healthier range of emotion which affects my function. So we can come at it from either direction. This is really the beautiful thing. The last thing I want to share about this, in terms of really looking at this from a modern brain perspective, is the right hemisphere. Does everyone know the left hemisphere does more like logical, linear thinking? Remember I said developmentally, this is the earlier formation of the sense of self. The right hemisphere is really basically like now is the only moment there is. It's about creativity. It's really about juicy expressions of relationship and passion and music and poetry. And, Walt Whitman, Rumi, Hafez, these are all, this is just like the right brain coming down into writing. It's so beautiful. The right brain, the right hemisphere, has a direct neural connection to your heart. In fact, we actually say the heart is the fourth brain. If most people point to themselves in a group, they'll always go like this. This is where really the seat of consciousness is. So as we become elders, we become more fully integrated beings, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. This also implies that our brain is working differently. Right hemisphere is hanging out with the left. Right hemisphere is talking to the heart. We can be linear and logical, and we can also be empathic. We can be present-minded, focus. We can just basically bask in the bliss of love that we are. That would be this greater sense of awareness, or I amness. And really, this is quite healthy. To have a fundamental identity that says, wow, I am love. God is love. I'm part of God. This is so beautiful. I'm going to treat every living being with loving kindness and respect and sincerity and truth and compassion. This is the mark of a very psychologically healthy person. And then if we go even deeper, we then also have the grace and the ability to recognize this sea of emotions that might bring up all kinds of stuff of anger, depression, boredom, all the things we might experience. But it says, yeah, but my fundamental identity is this. I'll take actions consistent with that. This creates a very beautiful sense of self, which now gives me this great range of emotions that I can dance with and healthy function on all levels. And I really have seen just a great example. And this is a miracle. By the grace of God, we are done on time. Oh my God, it's a miracle. Thank you, Mother Mary.
And it's on tape.
Yeah, it's on tape. I've worked with, at these retreats I've done, and believe me, I don't think I'm the only show in town. There's so many ways where consciousness can be expanded and really embodied. Whether it's praying the rosary, saying the Jesus prayer, practicing Tibetan Buddhist meditation, practicing centering prayer, going on here retreats, doing spiritual counseling, doing authentic shadow work, psychotherapy. These are all avenues in. And all I've noticed that at some of the retreats we've done, people have really noted to us that they've had some of the most profound spiritual experiences of their life, that they may have had a belief for many years or had a theology that they believed, which is really beautiful, but that now it's like, oh my God, I experienced myself as that I was one with the fabric of creation, that I was loved, that I felt this immense connection to everybody and part of this vast ecosystem of energetic awareness. This is neat. And this, I think, if I can just give you one really cool YouTube video to watch. This is cool. I don't know if anybody's seen this, but has anybody here read The Stroke of Insight? A Stroke of Insight book? Really cool lady, hardcore neuroscientist. She basically had a stroke, which affected her left hemisphere. She basically lost the ability to use her left hemisphere. So she could only be creative and present-minded focused. She basically turned into a creative mystic. Her video, if you Google it, Stroke of Insight, TED, T-E-D talk, and watch this 20-minute video, it is so wonderfully inspiring and tear-jerking, and you can actually watch everything I'm talking about, sort of going through her. So that's pretty much it. Those are the 5 gifts of the human nervous system, which really, I think, are just 5 cool archetypes of human development. At the most developed level, we're basically heart-centered, integral beings on every level. At the most base, we're basically little surviving organisms that want to be safe, and then everything in between. So it's just a really exciting thing, and when we talk about flourishing in life, I think this then encompasses everything. So when we do our brain-body stuff, feel free to come to none or all of these. I promise you we will have handouts. This is basically the topics we're going to cover, and then we're totally done, but I just thought to just whet your appetite or tell you what not to do. The first one is going to be the heart of it all, true heart health, but it's looking at the heart as part of the human nervous system. So we'll talk about some basic practices for cardiovascular wellness. I'll talk some nutritional piece, but we'll talk about 2 emotional health and really practices for gratitude and heart-centered practices that I've learned that have been really great. Next one is radiant energy and unshakable focus. So that's going to imply really good practices we can do to nourish our brains so we have more energy and more focus. The first one will actually be healthy brain, healthy bodies. It's going to lay out the different aspects of digestive health, skin, our sexuality, depression, feeling good, mood. We're going to go over the brain, and pretty much you'll learn more about the brain than just about anybody around. The 1-hour stress solution. Emotional health for life, and the last one is called entheos. As you know, the word enthusiasm means God within, which I love. So it's really going to be creating health with life, living with bliss, virtue, radiance, and joy. And obviously that will be more of a take on the last maybe 20 minutes of this talk. We'll just go deeper into that. Then there's another one called the weight of stress, which is relating weight to stress and just solutions for weight loss related to dealing with stress and improving brain function. And that, I believe, is it. There's a couple more Jenny and I talked about, but those are the ones that I have to
So you're doing those here?
Yeah, and that'll start in the fall. And one will be at 12 and one will be at 5:30. So every topic we'll do one at 12 for the noon people and one at 5:30. They're totally free, so come. Handouts included. Cool. That was really fun, you guys.
I'm really glad, since it's usually what connection I've had with when the chakras were being talked about, it's always been sort of